Thanks for joining me today, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're probably going to laugh at this because you said in a few other conversations that you're just like a normal guy, but out of anyone that I've spoken to, and I think you're my 86th guest, you are by far one of the most excited, I guess. Well, I've become the most excited in the past 24 hours than I have for just about anyone, so I do appreciate
That's
you
a
joining
high
me.
praise. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I found a quote, and mate, in regard to like homework and everything, you've made it pretty easy because you've got years of data for me to trawl through. But I found a quote, and I thought it'd be a good place to start it. And it said, "And thank you to my mum for all the unwavering support and subtle but necessary. Sure thing, Thomas. Do your thing. Every time I dive headfirst into anything I decide to do. It's small, but it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. I'm a dreamer, sometimes to a fault, but in whatever I do, I know she has my back."
Yeah. It's funny hearing that now because I think with enough reflection, like I would, it took time to get to that point. I feel like it would be unfair for me to say that because then people who don't have the support of their parents probably feel like they're owed something that they've not actually earned yet. Like there was a period of time because I didn't go to university and not for a good reason. I just didn't. And there was a period of time where, yeah, my mum and my parents were deeply concerned that it was like, oh, this kid didn't do well at school. Now he's not going to university. Now he doesn't have a job. What's going on? And so it took a while to get to that point. I think I earned it slowly. But now, yeah, it's at the point where, yeah, my parents are very supportive in their own way.
Were you ever concerned
About
at
what?
that age?
About life?
You spoke to your parents. You said they were concerned about the direction you were going. Were you concerned at that age?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I still am. I think I don't think you ever. I think it's like the curse of ambition, right? Like there's always going to be a delta between where you are and where you want to be, and you're always kind of concerned that things aren't going to work out the way that you want them to. And so, yeah, absolutely. At that age, I was, but at the same time, I think I always knew. I knew what I couldn't do, and what I couldn't do is what everyone else was doing. I think I, especially in school, realized like, it just doesn't work for me. And not for a lack of trying. I wasn't one of these kids that was just disruptive and didn't try and didn't put any effort in. I put effort in and it didn't yield results the way that I expected to. And so then I was just sort of in a position where I realized like, oh, well, this doesn't work for me. But then I had other areas of my life that did work. And so I just realized, especially in that kind of turbulent period towards the end of probably year 11, year 12, where you're kind of supposed to decide what you're doing. I was like, well, I don't fucking know. I've got no idea what I'm going to do. Least of all, what's supposed to be my career for the next 50 years. So yeah, I was absolutely worried.
I remember exactly what you said before. What I said before, you had that anxious, and I resonate with that fully. I remember they said that I wanted to be a paramedic.
You said you wanted to be a paramedic.
They said I wanted to be a paramedic.
Yeah.
They determined with their.
Oh, at school?
At school, yeah.
You know what's funny? I actually read my Moresby report last night.
Really?
My mum found it and like gave it because I was picking up my dog when we were overseas. My mum looked after our little dog. And she just hands me this document. I was like, what's that? And she's like, oh, it's your Moresby report if you want to read it.
What is that? Is that your...
It's like your careers test thing. They come in and do testing. It's like general intelligence testing.
Yeah, of course. Surprisingly.
It was interesting. The only thing I had on there that I exceeded at was how slowly I worked. It was like comprehension, terrible. Maths, terrible. Even like speed of execution, so speed of understanding and execution, terrible. But then for some reason, how slowly I worked was the only thing that I was above average at. And then like the careers stuff was basically just go do a trade or go join the military. So not exactly a huge pep talk to go off and live the rest of my life with. But
I remember you saying the only thing you were good at was drawing.
Yeah. I've always been really interested in it. I don't know if I would say I had like a natural ability. It was just something I really enjoyed doing.
Why do you think that was?
Don't know. I have no idea. have no idea. And it's been like that. There's been a couple instances of that sort of stuff throughout my life where, it's probably a little bit of ADD and hyperfixation, but I'll find something that just touches that part of my brain a little bit better than everything else, and suddenly it becomes an obsession. And I think I discovered that when I was really young. And then it's like, it's an escape, right? It's creativity is making art, even doing something like this. It's like in this conversation and making this content, you're not thinking about anything else that's going on in your life. And so it's escapism. And for me, drawing, especially when I was really young and then through high school, like towards the end of high school, I was like, oh, well, nothing else is fucking working. So I'll go to the gym at lunchtime and I'll go back to the art class in my spare periods. So yeah.
You, what did you say before? You said something about, hang on, I had it on the top of my tongue there. Sorry.
It's all good.
I normally, hang on, give me a second. I had something really good. So you said, the ADHD.
Yeah.
You said you found that at a younger age.
I discovered that? No, I actually didn't.
I thought you said you learnt that younger.
No, I was diagnosed dyslexic at a younger age, but I didn't really realize. I've actually never discovered it until I went to therapy. So I started going to therapy. God, it would have been 2021 or 2022. And just through conversations with her, she's like, this would explain a lot. And she was shocked that I hadn't ever been diagnosed. And I think I don't have the hyperactivity, right? So I'm not ADHD, I'm just ADD. And my little brother is very ADHD. Like he was the disruptive kid in class, throwing shit at the teacher, just a disaster to go to school with. And then I was just back of the classroom, not understanding why I couldn't pay attention, but trying not to make too much noise. And so I was it flew under the radar. People probably just thought I was a bit dumb. And then the signs were just, one, hyperfixation, but like little things like an inability to hold a calendar, an inability to, even getting back to your messages and getting back to calls and stuff like that. It's like once it's out of sight, out of mind, and that sort of stuff is perpetually part of my career. It's hence why I've the business I've built is I've got a person who basically runs the entire back end to make sure I don't, I get given a to-do list every morning from him, and he runs the ship to make sure I don't lose track of things.
I was the guy that was showing kids, things at the teacher.
Yeah, see, I wasn't that at all. Really? It was never obvious. And I think it's the same thing. It's funny, after learning about it and doing some research and speaking to my therapist, it's something that's more common in women, ADD, which is why it's so underdiagnosed. ADHD is kind of known as like a boy thing. But it's not. It's just because ADD is usually more common in women. And so for me, I don't know why I don't have that hyperactivity. I've never had it. I've always been a very quiet person.
Yeah, you said you're an introvert, but you learn how to be extroverted.
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah. I think. I think I do. This is going to sound so sociopathic, but I do a good job of like figuring out what I need to be in certain situations.
Give me an example.
Well, content. Like I have no business doing. I have zero business doing what I do today. Like I took 2 full years. I started making content in 2016, and I took 2 full years to actually speak to a camera. It was always just faceless content.
Yeah.
Maybe my captions would be a little bit personal, but to the extent that I was showing up online, it was all faceless. And it took me that long to just start to speak. And if you watch my earliest videos, they're all horrific. It's funny, most of the ones that you could have watched are unlisted now, but it's crazy how far I've developed. And I think I owe social media and my career, all the confidence I have is owed to the job that I just happened to end up in. So it's really interesting. I didn't have this confidence. I didn't have any of what I have. My ability to articulate myself, all of it is a result of what I've done to get here. I wasn't a theatre kid. I wasn't confident. I wasn't the class clown. I wasn't the popular kid at school. None of that was true. And so it's really interesting to be here now, especially really looking back. I feel like I'm a different person.
Did you struggle to fit in at school?
I would say I had a hard time figuring out where I was supposed to fit in. And so like I would use things to get places. So like I always wanted to play on the football team. And so I figured out that if I just become bigger than every other kid on the football team or at my school, that I'll have to be picked. Like if I'm just, if I'm 190 centimeters and 95 kilograms in year 12, I'm probably going to get picked. And so I did that. And then that got me on the rowing team and that made me friends in that group. And then I sort of figured out a way to get involved, but I was never like, I would say like friendships. Again, I've always been a very introverted person. And so the friendships I do have now are amazing and they're usually very long-term friendships, but building new friendships has always been something that I've found pretty difficult.
I remember you saying in Chris's conversation you were in the 10Bs or something. You got absolutely poleaxed.
I don't know if it was the 10Bs. I think it might have been even earlier. I think it might have been like the 9s or the 8s or something like that. But I remember like, because I'm tall. So like, you know how it is when you're a kid, they just put you in the fucking ruck.
Not that tall.
But you know what it is? It's like when you're a little kid, they're like, you're tall, you'll be a ruckman. You're this, you'll be a midfielder. It's like there's no thought except for that. And so I'm a little bit taller than most kids. And so I got put in the ruck and I remember just getting flattened. And I went straight home, called my friend who went to the gym and asked him where he went to the gym and walked down from my house, got a membership and then, loved it.
I was going to ask why you hid yourself in the first 2 years because I went back and looked at all of them and you talk about the personal captions. They were more than personal.
Yeah, of course.
They were deep.
Yeah.
But I think I even remember you saying that you had people ask who the person in the photo was. And you were like, it's always me. I just set the camera up in a way that it's me. I'm assuming most of those were on a drone.
Yeah, drone, like tripod. Yeah, back then. Fuck, we're thinking a long time ago now.
Why were you faceless?
Just didn't have the confidence.
Really?
Just plain and simply didn't have the confidence. I was embarrassed about it. I also found it like it was scary. I was insecure about it. It was something that I just full on didn't have the confidence to do. It also wasn't something I like. There was no reason to do that. I always kind of admired people who had a personal brand. Like I never really watched, after school TV or anything like that. It was always YouTube.
Peter.
So I followed even earlier. I followed like Max Tuning and Beauty Pie and all these people. And I'm talking when I was like 14 years old. And so I always really admired that, but I didn't really understand what it meant. I always saw them as like they're actors, they're celebrities, they're personalities. And then fitness was my first love that could be professional. And I went and became a personal trainer and I very quickly realized that I fucking hated that. And so about 2 years into being a personal trainer, I just had a moment where I was only 20 years old and I already hated what I was doing. And then, I loved the people that I worked with, but I didn't want to become that. I couldn't see a world where I was going to be a personal trainer forever. And so I had a little bit of an existential crisis and went and bought a camera because I figured that, and this is genuinely the reason, I figured that painting takes too much time. And I wasn't planning on turning it into a career. It was just, I need to be creative because I hate my job. And if I just spend some of my spare time being creative, then maybe I'll live a better life. And so I picked photography instead of painting because painting would take too much time. And so I bought a camera and just went out and started taking photos. And then, I just wanted an outlet to be able to share it. And that then, I think for the first time, I wasn't talented at it. Definitely wasn't talented at photography.
So.
Well, no, it's like a hyperfixation again. Like if I showed you my early photos, you'd be like, oh.
I've got
They're a bit rough.
You're talking about like this sort of stuff, like that?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking, that was maybe a year or two in too. Like it's not bad, but it's...
To me, that looks good, but I'm not a trained...
I appreciate it. Yeah. But it's funny because it it was something that I did it and it just poked a part of my brain and I loved it. But I think then wanting that outlet and wanting to share my work online then sort of gave me a taste of what it's like to build something. And I really fell in love with the process of like building my personal brand, even though it wasn't a personal brand at the time. But like the process of building and sharing and having a community, and obviously like, you know, the narcissist in me liked the followers. And so that was like a taste of what was slowly building. And so it wasn't honestly like the first 6 months, the first 12 months, there was no like plan of like, this is a career. There was also no one in my life who was making face to camera content. So it wasn't like today. If you start making content today, everyone is making face to camera content. Even the people who are starting with no experience are all picking up their phone and talking to it. That was not the case in 2015, 2016. It was all, people are posting photos or making videos or doing skits or comedy, or it's a topic-based period of time on social media. And so photography was just that thing. And I remember having in like early 2018 or maybe even like the end of 2017, I had a conversation with a group of my friends and I was like, I think I'm going to do a vlog. And they're like, you should do it. Like you should absolutely do it. I had, again, like I'd never even spoken to my Instagram story, and here I am being like, I'm going to have a vlog. I'm also a 21-year-old kid with no fucking money who lives with his parents. Like, what was I thinking? And that then didn't even eventuate. It just eventuated. And the next morning I was like, well, I have to take an action towards this. I have to do something. Otherwise it's just, you know, rah the night before. And then here I am doing nothing about it. And so I spoke to my Instagram story for the first time. And I just talked about like my New Year's resolutions, because it was like the end of year or early in the year. And that was that. And then slowly I think I started to realize like again, like the photography thing was really exciting and fun. But again, I hated that it didn't represent me at all. Hence why I would write like these deep captions, and hence why I would try and get myself in the photos. Like I still wanted it to be an art form that represented me.
Yeah.
And I think slowly it started to just become pretty pictures of a beach somewhere, which doesn't really interest me that much.
I was going to say, like, the representation of you is in those captions.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously I knew you wrote them because
I remember it.
Like, obviously you question things that you see written now because of AI and everything, but you would have had to sit there and actually think or thought about what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take you through one.
Sitting on my
phone. I
phone.
always find going to the beach for sunrise or sunset without the sole intention of photography extremely grounding and in a way therapeutic. I drove down to one of my favourite spots this afternoon, sat at a lookout and listened to Mumford & Sons as the sun passed the horizon. I did this as an opportunity to detach and appreciate. Things have been going really well for me lately, and I don't want times like this to pass without having the opportunity to be thankful. That was on the 23rd of March in 2018, and it was in response to that photo that I just showed you.
What an interesting young man he was.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
It's really interesting. It's so funny because I think back and it's like, I think at that point I hadn't learnt. I think at that point I hadn't realized that I think I was like I was trying to like put on a positive attitude for everything that was going on. And yeah, I was really excited at the time and things were going really well, but it's so funny like reading that back and then trying to put myself in the headspace of where I was in 2018 and going like, I was a bit lost. Like he had no idea what he was doing, but he was having fun. And so it's really interesting to like, because I remember that headspace and I remember being like, I need to be positive. I need to be, you know, I need to put on this representation that things are going well and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, it's not true, but it's not 100% representative of what I was actually feeling at the time.
I remember you saying that period between 17 to 21, you described it as a long route of depression.
Definitely, yeah.
So that was during that period, I suspect, 2018?
Yeah, towards the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely towards the end of it.
Where do you think that stemmed from?
Don't know. I've always had I think I've always had a bit of a predisposition for, I'm just an emotional dude. Yeah. Okay. I think I've always been like a very introspective, emotional dude. I have a very loud internal dialogue. It's just always been the way I am. Like I'm thinking about what I'm about to say, what I've just said, what you've just said, all at the same time as I'm trying to say what I'm saying. Hence why I'm able to talk the ears off a horse. It's what I've always been able to do. And I think it's because of that internal dialogue, but that also leads to a lot of overthinking and a lot of stress and a lot of just spiraling downwards. And I think when I was 17 and going through not really knowing what I was going to do, and then, at the time you have a couple triggers and some family drama and some relationship drama, and before you know it, you're in a period of time where you're just not happy. And I think I've described myself to, my therapist before as like, I think that period was like high functioning depression, where it wasn't a depression like, it wasn't can't get out of bed depression. It was I don't understand why I can't be happy depression. Like I was functioning and I was still doing things and I was still going to work and I was still putting on a happy face and doing all that sort of stuff, but I just couldn't figure out why I couldn't be happy.
You described it as introspection more than overthinking.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like the same,
of course.
Like the same thing to me, right? Like I think overthinking to me is anxiety, and introspection is like laboring on points, right? Like it's where you're sort of, you'll think of the worst case, best case, middle case, hyper extreme case, hyper extreme positive case all at the same time, and you'll plan for all of them, and then you'll do that for every single thing that happens every day.
Are you grateful you have that mindset? Do you think you'd be in the position you are now without it?
I don't know. I think there's definitely a part of that. My brain is responsible for putting me in the position I'm in. So yes. But I think I've experienced situations where I let that go and it's so much better. And so I think it's a learned thing, right? It's a part of growing up, and then like small little instances turn you into the person that you are. And I think it made me a person that is very introspective.
Something I've realized recently in my own experience is that, simply put, you will always find what you're looking for. If you're constantly, whether it be subconsciously or consciously, looking for negativity, you'll find it. And just as easily, if you're always looking for positivity in your life, you'll find that too. It's no harder to approach life from a positive perspective, even in the worst of times. But that small mental switch will change you massively. Action is only the result of motivation, but it's only the Action is not only the result of motivation, but it's only the cause of it. Days where I think my life would be easier if I just got a job. Do you still think that?
Was that 2020?
Yeah, it was around there.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember writing that, but I remember feeling that way. It's I still agree with the you'll find what you're looking for point. I don't think life would be easier if I got a job anymore. Thankfully, I've passed that. I think he was, that 2020 version of me was just, again, he'd been doing this a few years, and back to this point, like you started it by disagreeing with it, but I've always found myself as a really ordinary dude, and I've had to work a lot for what I have. And so at that period of time, I was, a couple years in, 3 or 4 years in, and didn't have a lot to show for it, and started to question why. And I think also at the time, I'd been running my business for 2020 would have meant that I had been running according to the ATO for 2 years, but on the side for 4 years. And again, make a little bit of money, drain your bank account to zero, make a little bit of money, drain your bank account to zero. I'd also moved out and moved back in with my parents. And so at that point in time, I think, I genuinely did think it'd be easier just to get a job. And that didn't change, honestly. That didn't change until 2022.
What happened there?
I had touched the stove too many times and actually decided to hang up the boots, to be honest. I've don't know if I've shared the whole story. I've shared it on stage, but I've not shared it in content. But I had a conversation with my fiance, who was at the time my girlfriend, and we were out for lunch, and we were having that conversation where I was like, fuck, it would just be easier if I just got a job. And we were thinking about moving out together because my lease was about to come to an end and her lease was about to come to an end. I'd also like not been making content and not been doing freelance jobs for a good 6 months because I went through a really weird period where right towards the end of COVID, like 2020, towards the end of 2021, NFTs happened.
Saw that, yeah.
And so I missed the initial wave where all of the freelance business, because I was running my freelance production company, all of the media businesses started to come back online around, mid 2021, and I refused because I had NFTs going on. And so I got towards the end of 2021 and was so burnt out with content. NFTs had obviously started to die off a little bit. And I was kind of stuck in this situation where I didn't have any clients anymore because they'd all rang and I told them no. And I just didn't really know what I was going to do. And so I got towards the end of 2021 and hadn't really gotten any work for a while. Was kind of, had a little bit of savings from NFTs and also JobKeeper, and just made a decision where I was going to continue because, again, so many random things going on, but I was training for an Ironman at the time. And my fiance and I were out for lunch and I said, all right, I'm going to start applying for jobs. I'm going to use the rest of my savings that I've got to finish this Ironman in June. And then somewhere between now and June, I'm going to sign somewhere and actually get a job. And that was, a decision we made and actually followed through with it. McKeely worked in tender submissions. And so she helped me put together my resume, and thank God I didn't hear back from the two companies I applied for. Because then by the time I got to June, after actually like letting go for the first time, honestly, since I quit my job in 2017, for the first time actually letting go and actually quitting and coming to terms with the fact that I was really done, I didn't want it to be over. And I got to the finish line of Ironman so excited to get back to work. So made that decision. Also learned a lot from not working for a while, and all those kind of changes then led to what has now been the last, almost 3 years or more than that.
It's a good reminder to hear, especially because I'm only like 4 months into my sort of journey. So it's it really is a good reminder.
Yeah.
For anyone out there that's...
Takes a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Takes a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think there's like you really have to remember that most of the time, if you ever see someone who's succeeded really quickly, they're the anomaly by
it's going to take longer you think.
A large margin. It's going to take whatever time you think it's going to take and multiply it by 10. You can achieve a lot. Look, I think there's this misconception with patience where people think that if someone tells you to be patient, you have to forego any success. And that's untrue, because my first year as a freelancer, I made $60,000 in 2018. And so $60,000 to a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old in 2018 or 21, I can't remember how old I was in 2018, but a 21-year-old, $60,000 from his own business was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what I wanted to achieve that year. I delusionally thought I was going to make $150,000, $200,000 in my first year in business, which is delusional. And so I think there's a misconception where if I tell you to be patient, people then think, I have to forego any financial success. It's not true. You can achieve a lot in a short amount of time, but you can't achieve everything you want in a short amount of time. And I think people put that or think about that and think it's all or nothing. So I've got to achieve all of this now or I'm never going to achieve it. But I think something I've tried to, I've always kind of known this. I don't know why I have this part of my brain. It makes me I love investing, but, long term. Like I've never really gambled. I've never gambled. I occasionally bet on individual stocks, but it's always like, a tech company that's going to blow up or some company that's just gotten funding for some specific cure for some disease or something like that. It's always a well thought out thing. It's never like I'm just going to Hail Mary into Trump coin. And I always have this ability to think really long term. And I think it's the same with my business. I've always known that I want to achieve a lot, yes, but I'm okay with achieving it after a while. Whereas I think there's a whole cohort of people, especially young people, that are like, well, I want to be a millionaire now. And it's like, well, I could make you a millionaire in 10 years. You just have to be okay with maybe not being there for the next 10.
Chris, in a recent episode, spoke about if you want something to be different, you'll never be happy until that happens. Were you sort of behave or acting like that when you're during 2018? Did you like sort of set an expectation?
What do you mean?
Have you set something like an expectation to achieve a certain amount of success that hadn't happened?
Yes.
Okay. So, and were you letting that dictate your behavior?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to put myself in that headspace.
It's a long time ago.
Again, it's like I think back then I was just honestly I was riding by the seat of my pants. Like I think back then it was just say yes to everything, do any job anyone will pay me for, follow any intuition, start any business idea you've got. I had a wedding business called Cherie Weddings. I had my production company that shot for professional athletes and sports teams. I was also trying to start this media company that did like podcast production, which is why I own a lot of the equipment I have. I tried to start a software company called FlowKit. And this was all in like 2018, 2019 in like a 24-month period. And so honestly back then, like, a lot of my reflection is probably unfair because I think I was just fucking riding by the seat of my pants. I think it's only now looking back that I can think about it and know that it's almost like being a good teacher is not teaching someone what you did. It's teaching someone what you would have done. And so I can look back now and know what I've been through and tell people, well, you should have a lot of patience for what you're going to do, and you should just focus on what you're enjoying doing, and you should try and eliminate as much as you can and focus for a period of time, even if it's just 6 months on one thing, then 6 months of another, because you're never going to be able to divide your attention across 7 or 8 different things and achieve anything.
Focus on what you would have done, you said.
Focus on what you would have done, not what you did.
Okay.
With what you know now, if you're 10 years into your journey and you're looking back at year 1,
yeah,
what would you have done with all of your knowledge now to get you here?
Yeah.
Obviously, what you did helped,
yeah, of course.
and it got you here. But I would like to think that if I went back, I could get here faster.
I took this segment out from a conversation of yours a while ago.
And I want to just quickly preface that because if you are listening to this, say, in the future, which I'm sure a lot of you probably are, you're not listening to this the week I release it or the month I release it or even the year I release it. Maybe a few of you are listening that far in the future. And the first thing I want to tell you is, or ask you, is I hope that this is now my full-time job. So if you are listening to this in the future and this is my full-time gig, I'm fucking stoked. That's awesome. And second of all, keep listening because this will be valuable for you, even if it might not feel like it's directly valuable for you in the beginning. I'm going to bring this around. I have a purpose. I have an overarching purpose, which hopefully you can tell from the title of this podcast. But there is a very specific or very broad purpose to this podcast that I'm sure a lot of you will find value in. Even he has a complete inability to get to the fucking point, doesn't he? That's very funny.
Yeah.
Very cool. I remember making those podcasts. I think that was like the first time that I think that was like honestly the catalyst for a lot of what I'm doing now is the just choosing to make some podcasts because it sort of showed me how much I enjoy just reflection and articulating myself. And a lot of like the introspection that I've had my entire life is almost a bit of an unfair advantage when it comes to podcasting.
Little
or
Red
just
Riding
making
Hood.
content.
Sorry, what did you say?
No, it's all good. I just finished my point.
Yeah. Little Red Riding Hood. Remember this one?
I don't remember this one.
A morning I'll remember for the rest of my life. This morning was something else. It was one of those moments that instantly makes you remember why you get up so early to chase sunrises or stay out late watching the sunset, or why you're up in the early hours of the morning most of the days honing in on your skill, editing photos and footage over and over again until you get it somewhat close to what you had in your mind. It reminds you why you started this thing in the first place. And even though these moments are few and far between, they're always worth the wait.
I don't remember that at all.
Really?
That's so funny. It's so funny looking back or hearing these looking back, because I remember I used to take enormous pride in writing my captions, and I always saw it as like you said, it's like the one opportunity to be myself in that content, because that content has no real connection to the person making it, besides obviously the artistic style and all that sort of stuff. So it's so funny hearing these now, because you might have been shocked at how much it was like sitting in the car before I had to drive home, or sitting on a bus, or sitting on a train, or sitting at a cafe, or whatever it was. It was never like a piece of content that I was making for the internet. It was always just a moment in time that I was trying to just get something out that would hopefully inspire someone or motivate someone or make someone feel a bit better about their situation. And it's so funny hearing them read back to me, because it's like, one, I didn't think I ever would, but two, it's like it's so funny to hear how impactful it is, but how not impactful I thought it was at the time.
So you're saying it is? So you're saying it is?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is.
That's what I thought.
It's very funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It like reading them, knowing who you are now, I see it.
Yeah.
And were you getting people messaging you?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say they were building a connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, yeah.
All
so
the
that
time.
must have, you even said it before, that must have started the underlying passion to sort of do what you do today.
I had a friend who, like, we became friends because they were like, I followed you on Instagram, and reading your captions, I knew we would be the type of people that would get along. And so, yeah, it was always like, it was the first kind of glimpse of me, like, knowing that I wanted to build a brand that actually had an impact, or just generally have an impact. And I think that stems from following other creators when I was really young, and how much of an impact they had on me, and seeing that, one person could do that for other people. And then also, like, I've always wanted to do something. I didn't know what that meant when I was younger, but I've always wanted to have a red hot crack.
You talked about in another conversation, you'd go through ebbs and flows of like burnout and everything. Was that happening at that time? Yeah,
still does.
Really?
Yeah. It's the way it is. I think if you look closely enough at anyone, you'll notice that everyone does. Most people don't talk about it, and a lot of people don't realize it. But if you really pay attention to the people that you like, that you think are these infallible people, and you pay attention to the things they say, or the way they say it, or what they post, or their cadence, or how much they publish, you'll realize, like, everyone does. And it happens like month to month, week to week, year to year. Like, it's just the way it is. And I think I back then, I would go through those bouts of burnout and be like, why? Why am I useless? Why am I the reason that this is happening? Without realizing that it's just human.
I remember you saying that you would look at other creators and you would just look for a chink in the armor. But no one, like you said, no one would ever show it.
No one ever shows it, yeah.
What were you seeking, I guess, a bit of humanity in amongst all of that?
Relatability.
Yeah, okay.
I was trying to feel like I was normal. Yeah, I was trying to find someone who made me feel like I wasn't that different to everyone else. And it's also just it's boring watching people that are just these, like, put on this infallible character, this holier than thou. It's boring. It's not, because it's an inch deep. It's not real. And, like, I think it's worth, I've always tried to do this, especially as I've started to build my career, and especially, like, getting into business and hiring staff and all the lessons that I'm learning now. I've really tried to put my own experience and imagine the people that I admire going through what I go through on a normal day-to-day basis. So, like, getting pissed off about something, or waking up on the wrong side of the bed and just I woke up this morning and I was in a bad mood making coffee, and I didn't even know why. And I caught myself. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I standing here I just got out of bed. Why am I in a bad mood? And so there's all sorts of situations that normal people go through, everyone goes through, that then you assume that the people you admire don't. And I think a worthwhile exercise is just take your today And imagine that in your situation, Chris Williamson went through that today. The exact same day. He spilt, he was walking through the kitchen and his elbow bumped the fridge and he spilt coffee all over the floor. Screams out fuck because it's annoying. Then he's got to clean it up. Then he's late for a meeting. Then his car's out of petrol, so he's got to fucking drive to the petrol station. And then he's going through this thing. And then his mum calls him with bad news. And then this happens. It's like that happens to everyone. Yeah. And I think if you portray this infallible character, it's boring. People don't like it. And I think everyone, even like I've really admired this from Hormozi recently. Not to talk about someone else, but I've really admired it from him because he seems to have realized this and started to open up. Like I saw a post recently where he's like, I'm super burnt out at the moment. And then opening up about other things and some of the other stuff going on in his life. And it's nice because you're like, it makes what he's achieving seem more achievable.
He wrote, myth, working too much leads to burnout. Reality, not being able to manage emotions leads to burnout.
I don't agree with that.
Really?
No, I don't agree with that. I think yes, to a certain extent, like I've started to realize a big lesson I've learned this year is that stuff is difficult. Like business is difficult. Having staff is difficult. Launching is difficult. Developing a product is difficult. Having clients is difficult. Life is difficult. And if you expect it not to be, that's where you really suffer because then you're stressed about something that's normal. You're going through an experience that's difficult to go through and then you're worried about it being difficult. You're like, why is managing my, team difficult to do without realizing, it's just normal. And so if you give yourself the grace to understand this is a normal situation, you won't stress as much about that. So I agree to that extent. Where I don't agree is that you have to have a rhythm. There has to be a rhythm. There has to be a process of intensity and volume. There has to be a balance.
You said that when there's seasons and when you're in that season, you've got to have a finish line.
Yes.
Because if you're working for
nothing
constantly, you're like, how am I? This is not sustainable.
And it has to be a close finish line.
Yeah.
Like you can't be like, I'm going to be a billionaire or a millionaire in 10 years and then that's your finish line. Because 10 years is a long time. It's too far out.
Yeah.
You can go, I'm going to post this many pieces of content this month or this quarter, or I'm going to make this much money this quarter, because then it's achievable and you can focus and put the attention that's required. It's also just like most people have played some sport and you know that, hey, the first training session back after a game is usually less intensity. Why? So you don't get fucking injured. Racing an Ironman event, you have to balance intensity and volume on any given week. Otherwise, you get injured. And it's the same thing with being an entrepreneur. It's the same thing with everything. It's the same thing with a relationship. If your relationship is always full tilt, 100% with each other the whole time, doing everything, that's too much intensity. You're both going to get either sick or bored or whatever. And it's the same thing with your business. You have to balance volume and intensity.
I love being a creative personality type. Don't get me wrong, but it has its downsides. 99% of the time, you're over-emotional. Oftentimes, you're a hopeless romantic. You struggle with commitment. Numbers confuse you. You don't like being told what to do. You get FOMO when you decide to go out and hang out with friends and not stay home. And life's ordinary tasks all seem to be a cruel play to stop you from being able to do what you really want to be doing, and that's creating. But you get to see the world more beautifully. You get to appreciate the small things. You get to enjoy a sunset or marvel at a violent lightning storm. But most of all, you get to love what you create, even when no one else does. And I find it interesting that you said amongst everything that you're balancing right now, you're still less stressed than you were when you wrote that. I
don't know that for sure.
You said that on a recent conversation that you're...
It's so funny. I think you become better equipped. So like you get better, right? And so like I hate to draw the parallels, but my audience knows that I love to do this, but endurance sport and stress and life and everything. Endurance sport is like a beautiful little microcosm of life. And I think a good example would be, a beginner runner going out and running a 3-hour marathon is literally impossible. And to them, a 4-hour marathon or a 5-hour marathon would be incredibly stressful. To a very accomplished runner who can run a 2:30 or a 2:15, a 3-hour might be their Sunday afternoon run. You know what I mean? And so something that would have been, there was no world where him in 2018 or 19 or 2020 would have been able to handle what I'm going through now. And so I don't know. Like if I went back and did what he's going through, living with his parents, has no fucking money in his bank account, but also no worries in the world, it'd be amazing. But that's the life I was living and the stresses I was going through at the time. And so it's interesting reflecting on it because, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've just become better equipped to handle life.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing when you look at everything you've gone through. I've
just gotten fitter.
Yeah, it's so true. And then you look at things that have happened in your life and you're like, if that didn't happen, it wouldn't have got me to where I am now. Or if you talk about burnout and all that sort of stuff. Like if I hadn't gone through all that when I was younger, how would I handle what's going on now? Yeah,
definitely. It all makes you the person that you are today.
I saw a post that you wrote after 2022. It was 17 things that came after 2022. I don't need to read them all out.
I don't remember this. This is awesome.
I'm happy to read them all out if you want. I'm happy to read them.
I don't remember a single one of them, so I'm excited for this.
I think 2022 seemed to be a pretty big year.
It was a big year. Yeah, it was a big year. That was the first year that things actually started to work.
What did that feel like?
Fucking incredible.
Really?
Yeah, that was awesome. That
49,800 and something.
$49,688 in November. Yeah, that was awesome. It was just validating, right? You work your entire life, you work your fucking ass off, and then something finally works way bigger than anything else. And so like I'd had big jobs. Like I remember I got like an ASIS job in maybe towards the end of 2021 that was like, or not the end of 2020, end of 2020, that was like the biggest sponsorship I'd ever gotten on my Instagram, and it was like $11,000 and it was like amazing. And I felt really good about that. And then I got a job, I think the first time I ever got a $10,000 check from a client or like a paycheck from a client in like 2019 or early 2020. And that was awesome. But this was so much beyond, 49,000 Australian is like, 49,000 US is what, like 75,000 Australian? I'd not made 75,000 Australian in a year before that year. And so it was mental.
It's funny. I've noticed a common thread, and you just said it there, that 2019, 2020 were big years. 2022 was a big year. But in 2018, you wrote, it's been the best and most important year of my life so far. So it's funny. It's almost like everything you're talking about now is a constant leveling up almost.
It's funny. I went back, and I want you to read those things. But I went back and... I went back and did like a big full breakdown of my entire journey, and I did that as like just a piece of content I wanted to make. And it was it was such an awesome experience because I went back and basically went all the way to the bottom of my phone photos and just airdropped them randomly. Whatever I found that I thought was slightly interesting, I just airdropped it to my computer, and then I went through and wrote the content as I'm looking at this photo album. And it was so interesting looking back because while I was going through it, it felt like huge ups and downs and this mega turbulent time. But then looking back, it's all linear, right? And I think it's the same with anything. If you just zoom out far enough, everything feels a lot more linear. Whereas if you're tracking every single month.
Can you remember the year that stood out?
As in, no.
When you were writing that?
No year. I mean, 2022 is obviously a huge year. 2022 is honestly I think I'll remember 2022 as one of the, when I'm lying on my deathbed, I'll remember that year as one of the greatest years of my life. But they all led to the next one, right?
In 2022, we'll read it out. Working up to this moment was one of the most transformative periods of my entire life. I don't think anything will compare to those 6 months. I crossed the finish line on June the 12th, 2022 with no money, with over $12,000 in credit card debt I'd racked up from paying my rent with instant 23% cash interest advances. But I think hitting rock bottom like that, whilst also accomplishing something I never thought I'd be capable of, gave me such an enormous amount of self-confidence. So after a year off in July 2022, I came back and decided to have one last shot. I remember thinking, if I hit 20K in debt, I'll give this a rest and move on. I no longer cared about a follower count, views or likes, or a fucking niche. I'd spent years following the advice of everyone else online, and it has gotten me nowhere. I was done. I had only 2 goals for the rest of the year. One, build a true personal brand that represented everything that made me, make $50,000 in a single month before the end of 22 and get myself completely out of debt. Dude, you are such a good writer, by the way. I've got to comment on that.
You know what's funny? I'm listening to these now, and I'm like blown away by it's really because I've had this, especially this is like so timely, but I've thought about this a lot over the last month. I think as a net, like AI and using it for content has been a huge negative for everyone. And I think we've crossed the precipice. I think literally like 2 weeks ago, I felt it. Like the launch of Sora, I think was the first moment where everyone collectively realized like, this is not good. No. And I'm not saying I don't use it. I use it for research. I use it for creating bots for my students so they can, input their own content and have it spit out reports and that sort of stuff. For that kind of stuff, it's amazing. But for content writing, it is a huge loss for the world that so many people are using it that would have otherwise been incredible writers. And listening back to this, I'm remembering how much, and I still do, I love writing. It's a huge part of what I do. But I'm remembering how much I loved that it was my own, there was no other option. And it's weird looking back now where you can jump in ChatGPT and be like, write me an emotional caption about the year that went, and it'll spit out a pretty decent output.
Yeah.
But actually sitting down and writing that and remembering having to do that it's really weird looking back now and remembering sitting on my phone on a tram or at a coffee shop and then deleting that bit and then I'll change that and use this word and read through it, edit a little bit, read through it. It's amazing, and hearing them back is really interesting, especially with the space now.
Yeah, I've been doing 2 LinkedIn posts a week just as a dear diary, and it's and it's me. It's me.
Yeah.
And they don't get much engagement, but the amount... The way that you feel after writing it, like I look at what did I write on Monday? Like, yeah, it was like I used to wonder if quitting my day job to do my side hustle would actually work. If only the old me could see where he's at today. And then I just talked about the views that I got in a week, which was like 70,000 views. And then, the fact I'd never felt the last time I could be proud of myself and, dear future me, like all these play in the decades posts, like I've done heaps.
It's awesome.
And it makes you, I don't know, it does something that content and I'm a visual person, but when the words are out there, it's almost like an extension of yourself in a way. And when you read it back, you're like, holy, like this feels good.
Yeah. And look, I love in hindsight that I could have just said it to a camera. I think there's something really nice about saying it to a camera, but you're right. It's like, it's a true representation because there's no filter. I think writing is an interesting place where, it gets less and less. And I've definitely gotten to the point now where I've been doing this long enough that I don't feel like there's a microphone or a camera in front of me. It's just become second nature. And so if I started doing it now, it's probably a better representation. But in 2018 or 2019, me talking to a camera would have been a fucking disaster. And so watching them back now would just be embarrassing. But reading my words back from then is me, and it was me at the time. And so it's like this completely unfiltered experience. And so it's really interesting.
Do you read them back often?
No, really? Never have.
Okay.
Never have.
Really?
Yeah. I hear like the stories of Matthew McConaughey writing in his journal and then writing a book out of it. And I've never even opened one of my old journals.
See if I can find.
It's so interesting.
We'll find another one. I've spent a lot of the last week or two looking back on the last 3 to 4 months overseas. And although I've progressed tenfold as an artist and learnt more about myself than I had in years, I think my own personal expectations far exceeded what was realistic, which is a common theme with myself. My ambitions are often larger than my actions, and therefore the results are never what I expect of myself. Don't get me wrong, this time away has been nothing less than amazing and done nothing but further emphasise a path I already knew existed. But I'm coming home with a newfound aspect and appreciation for the work and the patience that is required to reach the ambitions I desire, to put into something a little shorter and easier to understand. Slower start to 2018 than I initially expected and hoped for, but you can bet this is going to be one hell of a year.
That's so funny. I remember that. I remember, because I thought moving to, because I kind of, as a way to have a clean break, because I honestly, from like 16 till then, I was known as Tom the gym bro. Like I just went to the gym. That was my personality was, that I was bigger than everyone else. And it's funny looking back because I'm probably fucking 20 kilos heavier than I am now riding that. And so it's really interesting because I moved to Canada with like 3 other mates and did the whole ski season overseas. But I went there thinking that it was going to be like my lucky break with content. I was like, I'm going to have so many beautiful locations. I'm going to meet so many cool people. I'm going to be access to the US. Like I really thought that was going to be like, for some delusional reason, thought it was going to be my lucky break. But in reality, all I needed it to be was a clean break of the life I had lived prior and the life that I was now living. Because I quit my job to go overseas, but I couldn't find any other excuse. And so I had been thinking about quitting my job from July or June that year. And then I slowly started going like, oh, well, maybe I'll just move overseas. And then I realized, oh, that's a perfect excuse to quit my job is the fact that I'm moving overseas. And so I could reinvent myself, and I moved over there and got a job as an on-mountain photographer shooting in Whistler. So I would follow families around for the day and take photos of them while I was on my snowboard. One of the fucking coolest jobs ever. Although I was getting paid 11 Canadian an hour, which was about $10 Australian. And so it's so funny. I thought it was going to be this huge lucky break, career changing moment. It wasn't. It was just 3 months of partying and drinking and breaking up the life that I lived with the life that I wanted to live.
It's funny. Like you look at a lot of people and what they've gone out and achieved, and they've had that level of delusion though.
Yeah.
With just about everything that they do until it works.
Yeah, I still do. I thought I was going to make like $10 million this year. Yeah. I said at the start of the year, I was like, I'm going to make fucking $10 million. I do it it's the life that I live. I guarantee if you look at the end post for every single year, it's always the same thing. This is going to be the greatest year. This is going to be everything. And I think you have to have that to a certain extent. Like you have to be your own biggest supporter.
Yeah.
You have to be. There's no other, there's literally nothing. There's no other option.
100%.
Yeah.
You said if you can't look at yourself and know deep in your bones, you're going to be disgustingly successful. You're fucked. Pack it up. This game isn't for you.
Yeah. Probably a little bit hyperbolic. But true, yeah,
though.
I agree. I think you there has to be, like, because no one else gives a fuck. Like your parents don't care that much. They just want you to be safe. Your parents would equally prefer you to have an amazing business and make millions of dollars versus have a job and have a wife and have a family and live a comfortable life. They don't care about the delta between those. They just want to make sure you're not on the street. And so your parents don't care. Your friends don't care. Your friends certainly don't care. They just want you to be a good mate. And so there is literally not a single person on planet Earth that is going to support you even close to what you need to. And so if you're someone who second guesses yourself constantly, you're always like, I could maybe do that, I could maybe not, you're fucked. And you have to sort that out first because you're never going to be able to outsource that.
What did you say? I think you said it at the end of the most recent video. Or what was the title? It actually went well on YouTube. You said, how to be so successful, people think you're an alien or something. Was that the title?
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then at the end you said you don't get a 1% life by setting a 1% goal.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get a 1% life by doing anything that's not 1% actions. Which is why it's like it's the catch-22 of all of this, right? Like I think you have to it's almost counterintuitive to what I've said in other instances where I'm like, oh, you have to find balance and you have to do things patiently and you have to do both at the same time. I think the only person who's ever had a perfect representation of this is Gary Vee, where he's like micro patience, macro speed, or maybe macro patience. I can't remember the quote, but basically having the patience to know it's going to take a really long time, but then having the intensity today to chase it as if you're going to get it tomorrow. You have to do both at the same time. You have to start every year like I am, delusionally, going, I'm going to achieve more this year than I ever have, but then not be discouraged when you don't. And then know that next year you probably could, but probably also won't. And the year after that, you also probably won't, but maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, you will.
Micro speed, macro patience are the only things that matter, because opinions predicated on people's insecurities and ego just slow things down. Speed erases politics because you can't spend time thinking about whether or not someone is trying to ruin you. It's not just subjective. Creative is subjective, but deadlines aren't. Done is much better than perfect. You have to do. This is exactly the type of thing that you said. You've got to set unrealistic goals. I think you said something along those lines. By setting those unrealistic goals, you'll probably get further along than if you otherwise hadn't set them.
Yeah. Well, you're always going to miss. I don't think you ever actually hit your goals. I think it's like anyone who actually hits their goals is not setting big enough goals.
Is that what you said, 10 million?
Yeah. I wanted to race a 9:15 Ironman. I raced a 9:35. 9:35 is still fucking really good. Like I wanted to run a 3:15. I ran a 2:57. I wanted to make $1 million. First year in business, I made first year in 2022, I made $300,000. The 49,000, right? I wanted to make 50,000 in a month. I hit 49,000. Like you never actually hit it, but if you hit it, you've probably hit a goal, or you've probably set a goal that's too small. And so I think most of the time, and I get so much pushback for this for some reason. People are like, nah, set realistic goals. You don't want to be discouraged. It's like the goal is just there to motivate you. That's the only point. Like your goal's not this, it's not like the plan is what you actually work towards. The weekly systems or your output or how much content you need to post or how much planning you need to do before you sit down for this podcast or the guests or all the things that you actually do, that's the plan you stick to. But the million eyeballs on your YouTube channel or the this much money in AdSense revenue or this much in sponsorship revenue or this many of your products sold, that's just something to put on your wall to motivate you to do something today. And I think setting a realistic goal is a waste of fucking time because you're going to miss it anyway. And so if you set this wildly ambitious goal, you're probably going to get somewhere.
I think the issue that I've had is that amongst everything I'm trying to do right now, I am trying to be perfect in just about everything that I do. But you've emphasized in other conversations that it's okay to drop the ball in, let's just say fitness.
To.
Yeah.
You have to.
But friends, like, I don't know if he's going to listen to this, but my childhood best mate, who I went prep to school with, prep to year 12, has had a kid 3 weeks ago.
Congratulations, Tim.
I called him once.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel bad in a way. And there's some water there, by the way, if you're thirsty.
I appreciate it.
It makes me feel bad that I'm not there, but I am in this season of my life, and I think he sort of understands that. Yeah,
the people that I think if you try to chase everything all the time, you're going to achieve nothing. It's just there's just not enough hours in the day. You're only one person. I think one of the I can't remember who said this, and I apologize, but I read someone's this blog post once that was like, finally admitting that you're not Superman is maybe one of the greatest superpowers you can possibly have. And it's this idea of like, stop trying to be perfect and stop trying to nail everything, because by doing that, you're actually achieving nothing. And if you want to achieve insane results and be Superman, you have to be focused. You have to pick one thing and go all in. And so, my advice to anyone would be, if you've got 6 or 7 different things that you're all trying to spin at once, the best thing you could do is actually get worse at 6 of them so you can get amazing at one. And I've done this multiple times in my life where even, it's so funny, I got like the nastiest comment from someone recently when I said, after I crossed the finish line for my Ironman in 2022, I went cold turkey on training. Like I went cold turkey. I stopped completely. I did a little bit of running to basically not get fat, but I went from training 25 hours a week to not doing anything because I knew my transition was back to focusing on my business. And that was a really hard thing to do emotionally. Also, like friendships wise, every weekend I'm going for a long ride on the long run with 5 or 6 of my friends, and I'm catching up at the pool, and I'm seeing them for dinners every week because we're training on Saturday morning. So we'd go for an early dinner on Friday, and I went to 0. And a lot of those people I've not seen since then. But I knew that had to happen because I knew I wanted to grow my business. And if I had have tried to continue doing both and done a little bit of business on the side and a little bit of that, and I probably would have lost it all.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds so simple. Focus will get you where you want to go. But it's one of the hardest things to actually do, because it means you as an ambitious person will have to get worse. You might have to get a little bit fat if you're someone who's always been hyper-focused on fitness. You might have to get a little bit slow if you've been someone who's a runner for however many years. You might have to make less money if you want to be a better father, or you want to be a better parent, or you want to be a better husband. Something's going to have to give. You can't do everything all the time.
I think I saw you say in a post that it was your house getting flooded that made you realize a lot of that.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Maybe it was a TikTok. Or maybe it was something else, but that gave you a bit of perspective.
Yeah, it definitely gave me perspective. It definitely gave me perspective. That's an interesting experience, because it's like, for one, I have no idea I don't think my fiance and I have done a lot of the work to unpack that whole situation. Less so the actual flood situation. The flood situation is like natural disaster. It is what it is. But getting fucked over as much as we have been is, it's Pandora's box. I'm not going to go into it because it'll affect my ability to anyway. But it's it's Pandora's box. It's been one of the nastiest revealers of the dark side of human nature that I've personally experienced. Thank God that's the worst extent that I've experienced it. But people do fucking heinous shit to other human beings.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I've done enough to actually unpack that whole situation. But yes, certainly no, not already, no.
Okay.
But yes, certainly gave me a lot of perspective.
Yeah. I saw you say something about, I think you did it earlier in the year. I've been screenshotting stuff you've done for months. No offense. Well, that's not an offense. It's public. You said, what an insane year 2025 has been, the greatest and worst year of my life. So much that you guys will never see. So much that even this moment feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
That was a few months ago. I think that was still in real estate when you said that.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it certainly has. It's really interesting because it's such a, when it rains, it pours, right? And I think when it rains, it pours. You go through situations, and a lot of it is just personal stuff, like family stuff and drama and obviously dealing with the consequences of the house stuff and moving so many times, and then, but then at the exact same time, my business is doing amazingly. We've had the biggest year we've ever had, and my relationship with my fiance has never been better. Like, if anything, this situation has only brought us closer together. And so there's there's such strange polarity this year where, it's been such a fucking crazy year, but at the same time has been an amazing year in many ways. And so, it's definitely given me perspective.
How are you going right now?
Okay, I think there's a lot I want to improve on personally, and then also just like life-wise. There's also so much that's out of my control, and I don't do well with that kind of stuff. So there's I've always been someone who's I like to improve a situation. I like to fix things. That's always been. And, I growing up, I always like to fix things. That's just been the way I always am. And going through this year and a lot of the things that have happened, there's a lot of things that I just I'm stuck behind the wheel and I can't do anything about it. And so it's been a lot of just getting comfortable with that situation and acknowledging that it's something that's going to take a very long time to get over and a very long time that it may never actually be resolved properly. And just, getting comfortable with things that are outside of my control. Because I think a lot of what I learnt, especially when I was younger, like a lot of the personal development and self-mastery and life stuff that I went through was always like, okay, control what I can control. And it was always like, okay, that's easy. Or looking back in this situation now, it's easy. But again, you just slay bigger and bigger dragons and get better at slaying dragons. But I think this year has been a couple things in a row that were like, fuck, can't fix that one either. And so it's stressful.
What does it feel like in those situations when you can't control things? Do you make it harder to work? Is it harder to focus?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. For my business to be doing as well as it is, I feel like I'm at like 40% capacity in terms of my focus. And then, it's funny, right? Like you talk about anxiety, like it's the same thing with me, but you'll lose days. Like you'll have something come up or something will happen and it'll trigger something. And then before you know it, you've lost a week. And that has happened just more consistent. I've had that my entire life, but with everything going on, that's happened, once a month instead of once every few months.
Do you think and we've spoken about it before. I think you said it earlier. You said if you hadn't had everything in your life happen, you in this situation now would be a lot different. Yeah,
I don't think I'd be here. Yeah, fully. I don't think I'd be here.
In what sense?
Oh, no, I don't think I would have accomplished what I have.
Okay.
Yeah, not to make it sound morbid. More meant, no, I just don't think I would have accomplished any of what I have.
40%, hey?
Yeah, I think so. Anxiety has been something I've always dealt with, but it's this for the last 2 years, it's manifested in very intense health anxiety. And for those of you who have it, you know how it is. And I don't need to explain it to you. But for those of you who don't sort of experience health anxiety, it's basically just anything will make you feel like you're dying. And it's like, fuck, you might have something happen in the morning. You wake up with a slightly sore jaw and then an hour later you convince yourself you have to go to the hospital. And then how do you walk yourself off that and then get back to work? And so that just, I think I've always dealt with that, but I can always kind of handle it. And then this year it's like a couple extra things on my plate have meant that I just can't also handle it at the same time. And so that's honestly been the biggest thing, is obviously all the life stuff as well, but I can normally handle the stress of individual things going on. But when it's like the stress of that situation and the stress of that situation, and then also my brain telling me I'm dying of a fucking blood clot in my arm or brain cancer on any given day for whatever reason, those all combined mean that it makes it difficult.
I remember you asking, you need to write a will, or make sure your partner has access to all your accounts.
I don't know why. I don't know why my brain has this fixation, but it's just like, I think most people suffer with. I'm not going to pretend that I'm different. I'm not. It's something that everyone suffers with, a different form of anxiety or mental health issues. And for me, it's just health anxiety. I can convince myself I'm going to die, and I don't know why. And it's a byproduct of the stress, right? You become really stressed, and then it just makes it heightens everything. And so on any given normal period of time, I can tolerate it. But when everything else is heightened, it makes it difficult.
So what's your advice to me as I'm getting into this thing?
My advice to you would be a few things. My advice to you would be pick one. I mean, you already know that. We've already spoken about that. But pick one. And it doesn't mean it has to be one forever, but it means that you'll achieve so much more so much faster if you just pick one at the expense of everything else. And if that means just the podcast, or that means just your Instagram, or that just means your YouTube, or that means your brand and your product, or a combination of maybe two, so maybe like a product and one of the social media vehicles, just do that. And it'll hurt. It's going to not be easy to do. And there's going to be a lot of signals that that's the wrong thing. And there's probably also going to be a lot of people in your life that tell you that's the wrong thing. I promise you it's not. The second part is, and this is like, this is something because I've listened to a few of your podcasts before I came on. And I think there's a propensity for people to mirror what's working. And I think you need to figure out what your thing is and what makes you special and what makes you want to sit down here today and have this conversation and lean as hard as you can into that unique thing. Don't worry about what's doing well, because what's doing well right now is not going to be doing well in 2 years' time anyway. There's going to be a new thing in 2 years' time. Like I said, in 2018, no one was making face-to-camera content. Now it's the entire thing. And in 2028, it'll be something completely new. I've been doing this long enough to know that it all changes. And so whoever you're looking at and whoever you're trying to think like, okay, what are they doing? They're doing them. And that's why they're succeeding. And they'll continue to do them when the space shifts. So the best thing you can do is figure out what's your unique thing, what makes you tick, why are you so interested in doing this, and lean as hard as you can into that. If that means interviewing guests in some strange niche interest that really lights you on fire, go for it. If that means traveling to certain locations or making certain content or speaking about certain topics, or just the way that you ask your questions or the avenues you go down, follow that intuition, because it is the one thing that you have that no one else has.
Good advice. I never read out those 17 tips. I'm happy to. I don't know, V, it must be interesting for you hearing all this stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
You will have goals that fill your soul and goals that will fill your bank account. Invest time into both. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. Nothing is ever as bad or good as you initially think. Reality is often somewhere in the middle. Quality is subjective. Your work doesn't need to be perfect, just perfect to someone else. Your definition of realistic shrinks and expands to the size of your goals. Set fucking giant goals. Then figure out how to get there. You've said this before. Slowly is the fastest way to get to where you want to be. You're gonna smile at this one. You're only ever 6 months away from a completely different life. I've seen like 2 titles like that, or 3.
Yeah.
The beginning is completely unimportant. All that matters is that you start. Your 50th version of your first product will make you more successful than your 50th product. The 50th version of your first product will make you more successful than your 50th product. Nothing will be working, then it'll all work all at once. No effort is ever wasted. Your results are compounding in the background. I actually played maybe I'll play it after this for context, but I played your compounding effort post on my last. The podcast is coming out this Sunday.
Yeah.
Which
one?
This one.
Where we went through all the different years?
Where it was like,
you're accumulating is underneath the surface. And
Oh, yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden it shoots off because all of that time
That-
you spent underneath
Yeah.
the surface was
I fucking love that one. That was
Yeah.
so good. I tagged my friend in that. I don't know if you saw that. Extraordinary results come from doing ordinary things for an extraordinary amount of time. Doing hard things increases your capacity for handling hard situations. Compliment people as often as you can. Volume negates luck. Build systems that make good decisions, habits, and behaviors as easy as possible. Focus on finding something that looks like you play and to everyone else looks like work. And lastly, success is a byproduct of obsession and enjoyment. If you don't love the process now, you won't love it with more success. That was after 2022.
Yeah, I would just about agree with every single one of them still.
Really?
That's awesome.
Is there any that stand out? I know there's a lot there.
No, I think they're all like, I think I agree. I still agree with all of them, to be honest. I think there's it's funny. They all like, I can kind of picture like my headspace and why I learnt those lessons for each of those. So it's really interesting hearing them back, especially considering like I still I would rip that post and put it up again today.
What do you like? What goes into something like that?
That was a long time ago.
Do you think that one looks good?
I
now?
mean, to be honest, I look back at that stuff now and I'm blown away.
Really?
Yeah, it's been such a long time. It's been such a long time since I've done that. And it was such a hyper fixation at the time. So it's like, yeah, I remember making that art and it was awesome. It was what I wanted to do at the time. And so, yeah, I look at that stuff now and I'm blown away, but it's like any other art form. It's like painting, it's like video editing, it's like all of those different things. It's like cooking a steak.
Yeah.
It's a series of tools and systems, and it's way less interesting when you're doing it, but then it produces a piece of art that is looks like that.
I'm so intrigued what you're thinking when you're editing something like that.
I don't even remember anymore, to be honest. It was like,
there's a heap of examples, man.
Yeah, I
like that one.
I remember I deeply loved it at the time. Yeah,
dude, that is.
I remember I deeply loved it at the time, because again, I think it was what I needed at the time. It was like escapism and to really sink my teeth into something, and then it was like a gateway drug into what I'm doing now. It was a gateway drug into making content and producing something for the internet.
Escapism.
Yeah.
What were you escaping?
Everything, man. Everything. I think like everything. Like like I said, I've always been a really emotional dude, and I've just had a propensity to overthink, and so spending time with my headphones on, listening to music, editing in Photoshop, and not speaking to anyone for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours straight. That was what I wanted to do at the time. And look, I really genuinely thought, I thought that was going to be I thought I was going to be like a professional digital artist, a graphic artist, someone that might make, I can't remember the term, but like there's a whole industry of people who make images for movies, and then based on those images, they then create the world and the set design and the characters and all that sort of stuff. And they're artists. They're these incredible people who basically paint with Photoshop their own vision, and then someone like James Cameron will come along and turn that into Avatar. And so I thought that was going to be my future, but I think in reality it was just I just deeply enjoy the process of being creative and sinking my teeth into something that pulls me away for a while.
That's still the case?
Yes and no. I'm sure if I look back at that person then, if I was in his shoes, he'd probably say the former version of him was more in it than he was. But we always do that, right? You're like looking back and you only romanticize about the moment, but you forget that he was broke. Like all these situations, and you feel so much more romance towards the past. And so, yes, I think I do. I think a lot of the work that I produce, I think even the business I run and the way that I work with my students and the way that we do everything, I think it's all based around that same experience.
Do you feel like you've lived two lives?
What do you mean? Have lived two lives?
The version that you were back then compared to now just seems, I don't know.
I think I've lived multiple lives. Yeah. It's like what I said. It's like I've molded myself to situations. And so, yes, I feel like I've lived many, many, many different lives.
You described it as the ability to pivot.
Yeah.
If you don't pivot, you'll fail.
Yeah. I think, yes, you definitely need the ability to pivot, but I think that's more just like you grow up, you change. Your views change, your opinions change, the people you surround yourself change, the people you look at change, the environments you're in change, everything changes. And I think if I was still here doing digital art, I think I would be disappointed in myself.
Does something like this exhaust you?
What do you
this
mean?
Sort of stuff like...
This right now?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
No.
Okay. Because you talked about the emotional, you on your own. And so I'm like, but I'm assuming if we were to go into a
If we were to
bar or
go to a
something-
party,
yeah, different story.
yeah,
I'm the
different
same.
story. Whereas this is easy. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you? What do you mean? What do you want to do? Like,
Well, I
you enjoy
like
this stuff.
I like making content. I like talking about. I like having conversations. I'm always the person who will pull someone aside at a party and scream at you for 4 hours straight about some fucking random idea. Like if someone comes up to me with something or they say something and I've got a small inkling, I'll immediately go at it like a bull shark. It's like I love that. I love communicating and talking about ideas.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's, again, like it's the same thing. It's at the time it was digital art because that was the avenue that I wanted to go down. It was my opportunity to sink my teeth into something, and now it's business and running the business I'm running and making content and communicating and ideas. And so it's really interesting.
Have you seen the quote, the "Find the Others" quote?
No.
Find the others.
Oh, is that the one?
With Chris Williamson.
I think I've heard it.
I'll summarize it, but it's like find the others, admit it, you won't like them. He's like, you may occasionally dress yourself up as one of them, watch mindless TV shows, maybe even eat the same fast food, but it seems like the more you fit in, the more you feel like an outsider watching normal people go about their automatic existence. And it goes on to say that whenever you see someone that says, have a nice day or the weather's awful, hey, they might yearn inside to say forbidden things like, tell me what makes you cry, or what do you think deja vu is? Face it, you even want to talk to the girl in the elevator, because I feel this as well. I don't, surface level conversations with people just, especially with what I do in this, just don't really get it. And then it says, who knows, you might learn from taking a chance on a conversation with a stranger. Everybody carries a piece of the puzzle. Nobody comes in your life by mere coincidence. Trust your instincts, do the unexpected and find the others.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I fully agree. Yeah, it's yeah, I've always been like that. Yeah. So I deeply enjoy this kind of stuff, and it's why I do what I do. I don't think you could do this if you weren't. Yeah.
Why?
I just don't think you would last. I don't think you would make enough content. I don't think you'd have enough ideas. I don't think you'd be interested in it.
Yeah.
Like it'd exhaust you.
Yeah.
Like you really genuinely have to find the thing that to you, again, back to that one of the 17, it's find the thing that to you feels like play, to others looks like work.
I put up a story yesterday and someone goes, you've got the envy of all your followers because you do what you do.
What do you mean?
Which is like cooking steak for a living.
Oh,
it's basically
yeah.
like how, I think the post was like wondering or looking, because it was a nice sunny day and I was sitting outside and I put a story up and I said, wondering how my life has got to the point where I'm cooking steak for a living. And someone goes, you're the envy of all your followers. And I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't think there'd be many people that want my life
What do you mean?
at the moment.
Oh,
Because I'm building and I'm working, like some serious hours and balancing a lot.
Yeah. But back to that thing, like everyone has a different struggle, but it's the same experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like the long hours you're working are coming as a choice because you're doing something that you find so fulfilling that you want to work that much. And so that's the same, that struggle of how much you're working is the exact same struggle as someone who's working a job they fucking loathe because all they want to do is get home to their husband or their wife or their kids, or they want to make sure that their bills are paid at the end of the month or whatever experience it is. And so I think there's like, it's all the same. Like everyone has the same experience. It's back to that thing. It's like, I think one of the best exercises you can do is like every single person you know, everyone you admire, everyone you don't, everyone you know personally, put your own experience of today on them and imagine that they went through the exact same thing, because they all do.
What do you think that does?
It just gives you perspective, makes you understand that you're not special. I think you don't want to, like, I don't think I think the moment you see yourself as special, you start to lose the magic that got you where you are. I think the moment you start to, for lack of a better phrase, get too high on your own supply, in both the respect of like, I'm so in the negative or I'm so in the positive, it's a vicious place to be in. You'll lose it. And so I think you have to maintain that perspective of like, I'm not special. I'm just someone who's having a crack, and everyone's having a crack.
I've heard
Just
you
like
say that a few
like
times.
you put if I think back to where I was in 21 years old, 22 years old, 23 years old, 19 years old, 18 years old, 15 years old, it's like I was still the same person, just going through completely different experiences, still feeling exactly the same way. Like I talked about last year how I had like just as a result of the stress, and I think I experienced health anxiety for the first time when I was really young, like maybe 17, 16. And then it kind of dissipated for a few years, and then it came back last year really hard. And I thought that was like the hardest, like I thought last year was a hard year. And I remember thinking recently, I remember reading an email that I sent out or something that I wrote or a journal entry or something. And it just popped up in my mind. I was like, oh fuck, I thought last year was really hard. And then I remembered it's like, it was really hard. It just wasn't as hard as this year. And so it's this problem of if you, and I'm probably butchering my articulation of this, but it's, you really, really can't get too caught up in thinking that you're unique and that your problems are unique or your experience is unique or your ability is unique or how good you are or how bad you are, because you're not. You're a lot better than you think you are if you think you're bad, and you're a lot worse than you think you are if you think you're great.
So true. Yeah, I have a lot of people tell me that what I'm doing is different, or what I'm doing is what about that?
No, it's all good.
What I'm doing is
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And
It
you
doesn't
should
make
be
me
proud
feel-
of it.
Yeah.
You should be proud of it. But also knowing that you're just a normal dude having a crack.
Yeah.
And I think that keeps you grounded, and it keeps you focused, and it keeps you like, you can look around and go, fuck, look at everything I've done. Look at everything I've achieved. How cool is this? Whereas I think the moment that you actually start to believe that, you're like, what I am doing is different. I'm owed this, or I deserve this, or I need this, as opposed to I'm just having a good time.
One of the best things I've learned in the past 12 months that allowed me, that I typed in owed and it said allowed, but you said in another conversation that the worst state of mind I got into was the one that made me feel like all the effort that I'd done, I deserved something from it. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's entitlement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the moment that you feel, it's like a back foot perspective. Because if you just act with no expectation and then you continue to do that, again, it's like the idea of stressing about being stressed.
Yeah.
If you get stressed and you find something difficult and then you're stressed about the fact that it's difficult, you're complaining and stressing about something that's normal. If you develop entitlement and you expect something to happen for the work that you're doing and then it doesn't happen, guess what? That's normal. And so if you become entitled, you start to fixate on the result that you didn't achieve instead of acknowledging the work that you did.
Yeah, you talked about it in the Chris's conversation. You said something. You've got to do work with the understanding that it might not even work out, or something along those lines.
Yeah, you got to work with no expectation of return.
Yeah. The health anxiety and everything. I think last year you were talking about the eyes,
brain fog, and yeah. I don't know. I think it's just a byproduct of stress. I think it's all just a byproduct of stress. You get stressed, and I'm like every other person. I get stressed, and then that stress becomes chronic, and then that chronic stress causes some weird symptoms in your body, and then my health anxiety kicks in, and those symptoms become, terminal in my own mind, and that then cycles perpetuate.
Give me an example of a recent thought you've had in regard to the health.
Oh, like fucking yesterday. I like was feeling around in my throat and I felt like one side of my throat was bigger than the other, which is something I've had my entire life. And I was like, oh, maybe that actually is like a cancer in my throat. I've got a new freckle on my palm that popped up like a month ago. And I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to get freckles on your palm. That's skin cancer. And again, it's like, it popped up a month ago. I'll go to the dermatologist and it'll be fine. But my brain's like, nah, you're going to die in the next 24 hours. You better go to the hospital and get it cut out. And so I don't know why, but it's just like this. And it's like this, it's the only, you know how, I don't know if you experience panic attacks, but people who experience panic attacks are convinced they're going to have a heart attack. They'll often be convinced that they're literally having a heart attack, or they'll be convinced that they're, dying or whatever it is. And usually those sensations are real. Usually it's due to like hyperventilating, and then due to hyperventilating, you feel these pains and aches and you do lose sensation in your arm, or maybe you do actually get pins and needles in your leg. Those are real sensations, but they're a byproduct of the anxiety. And so for me, it's like me sitting around poking my ribs because I'm like, why do I feel funny in my side? And I spend all day doing this. And then at the end of the day, I'm bruised on my rib. And then the bruising is like what I'm stressed about. I'm like, why does my rib hurt? Not realizing like, it's you fucking idiot. You've been poking your rib all day.
That happened.
No, like it'll be like my throat. Like I'll be like poking around in my neck. I'll be like, oh, do I have any fucking swollen glands? And then by the end of the day, it's like sore because I've been poking my neck all day.
Oh, wow.
And then the next morning will be sore again. So then I'm more stressed about it. So then I poke it around it again, and that will last a week.
Where do you think the panic stems from?
Don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't know. I've spoken at length about this with my therapist, and I just think it's, some people have anxiety in relation to the future. Some people have trauma in relation to the past. I think for me, it's probably like a bit of a control thing. I don't like things I can't control. And so chronic illness is it's the creme de la creme of you can't control it.
Yeah, it's not something that I've ever really
thought about.
Yeah.
Right? Probably never thought about it's crazy. For people who have chronic illness, for people who have health anxiety, you're sitting there probably right now being like, yeah, it's like an everyday thing. I don't understand it. It's bizarre.
Wait, you think I'm sitting there saying, what?
No, like for someone who's not, because I remember not experiencing it. Yeah. I remember, and it's so funny. Like I was even in Europe like a few weeks ago, and I was looking at a guy who was like a backpacker, a young guy, and I was like, fuck, I know he doesn't think about potentially having brain cancer.
Yeah.
I know he's not thinking about that. And I was envious. I was sitting there like envious of him because I was like having a bad day and it was coming up and I was stressing about it, and I was trying not to think about it because Michaela and I were like out in Paris, and I was like, I need to not spiral, otherwise I'm going to have to go back to the hotel, and I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this backpacker and I was like, fuck, must be nice. Because I remember what it's like to never think about it. And then you go through these periods of time where it's a everyday occurrence.
I saw a kid in a post office the other day, and he was sitting down on the floor in the post office playing on his iPad. And I spoke to his mum. I was like, God, don't you wish life was that simple?
Yeah.
Looking at that kid, I was like, God, that would be good.
It's like the same thing.
You wrote in 2019, I was struggling with anxiety and panic attacks for the first time in my life. I was unmotivated, and looking after my health had become an afterthought. But in the hundreds of hours I've spent training over the past 18 months, all the kilometers spent listening to nothing but my own breath and the rhythm of my feet hitting the pavement, I can comfortably say that I've learned more about myself than I ever thought I would. I've cried, I've laughed, and I've listened because the challenge has made me honest with myself.
That's probably the last time, during that Ironman prep is probably I reflect on that time a lot because I remember never, it felt amazing. That was, never was it a thought. And it had been prior, and it has obviously been after, but that period of time was like, it wasn't a thought, which is why I'd say 40%. Because I remember back then I'm like, fuck, that lucky bastard operating at 100%.
Do you think it's a byproduct of perhaps going too hard in those periods?
I don't know. I think, yes, absolutely. It's a byproduct of stress. But I don't know if it's something that like, I think it's just something I need to learn to, it's the same as any other mental illness. You have to learn you have to unwire the wiring that has been drilled into your brain through whatever behavior patterns that you've got. And for me, it might be, like wanting to control things. It's something I've always had. I always want to try and fix problems. I want to try and be the solution. I don't want to contribute to some negative situation. And so being out of control is my worst nightmare. And so, it's like, it's a perpetuation of something that is a behavior trait. I want to control things. And so what does my brain do? Give me symptoms of, or give me thoughts of things that I cannot control.
Is there anything we haven't spoken about today that you'd want to touch on?
Don't know. There's lots of things. There's lots of things. But I think we've done we've
lots of
covered
things.
the full spectrum.
Give me one of them. First thing that comes to mind.
I don't know. There's always, again, it's like I think so much. And so like as I'm having this conversation, I'm like spiraling off in like multiple different directions and trying to bring myself back to center. And so like to wrap the conversation up with that question, I'm like, brother, we could be here all day. And so I don't know. There's lots of different things that,
I remember what I said at the start of this conversation, like there are people that I get on and I'm interested in their story, but there are people that I get on and I'm genuinely inspired by. And you fit in the inspired category more than just about anyone that I've had.
I appreciate that.
And I mean it. So
why?
Because I understand the struggle that you've had to get to where you are. And I think Chris said it in his conversation, like, and my housemate is, I showed him your stuff before, and he said something that I'm sure you hear a lot. You can tell he gets it. And I see that, and I at heart think I'm a creator. And you talking about everything you've gone through at the start, you wanting to pursue YouTube in the early days and it forming to where you are now just by following your passion. And it's just, I just resonate with your story a lot.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think you're doing a great job. I think it is just, it's a long, long road. And I think being okay with, setting yourself up with the expectation that it's going to be a long road is it's the best way to succeed. And just try to enjoy the process. I think the moment that you get a little bit too serious, and I've caught myself doing this multiple times, but the moment that you get too serious is the moment you begin to slip. I think like getting back to center and understanding like, why did you start this in the first place? It was probably a genuine interest. It was probably genuine intrigue into the people you're having conversations with, or you were something about the way that you grew up made you really interested in cooking steak or cooking in general. And so hold on to that, because that's the magic. The moment that you transition to then, okay, I've got a content output or a schedule, and obviously those things are important. You have to stick to a cadence and you have to turn this into a business, and there has to be some of that, but you also have to keep that alive. And I think if you asked any of the people who are most successful, I guarantee there's the 50% of their brain and their energy that goes into maintaining systems and output and schedules and all that sort of stuff. But then there's the 50% that indulges in the thing that got them in there in the first place, whether it's the unique interests that they have for a particular subtopic, or the people that they want to speak to, or the products they want to sell, or the avenues they want their business to go down. Some part of them holds on to that indulgence. And I think you have to make sure you do that, because otherwise, if the moment you get too serious, you've just got another job.
For sure. I got goosebumps when I heard this, and I've read out enough quotes today, so I'm going to play it.
Welcome to my channel. My name's Tom. Okay, hello and welcome back to the first episode of think after a
Yeah, it's funny.
it'd get less awkward, wouldn't you? My first time vlogging in public, and my God, this shit is no joke. All you need to do to create is have a camera, an idea, and a place to shoot it. Enjoy yourself, figure out a way to bring smiles out of everyone in the room, and I guarantee the video will only be better for it. We overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in 5 years. It's been a good 12 hours. It's been a really good 12 hours. Where my mind is at as far as insecurities and how I've dealt with a lot of those. We're building an engaged community to not worry about having to have conversations at parties about why you're making certain YouTube videos. Lately in particular, it's felt extremely stale. I feel a lot of self-doubt when I'm making content like this. Camera is rolling. You are only ever 6 months away. I often get asked how I stay motivated. And one of the things that I do that helps me a lot is I try to remember how far I've come. I cannot tell you when that day will come, but I can tell you if you never stop, you will get there.
Good piece of content.
So sick, man. Well,
Great piece of content.
It got whatever 30,000 likes for a reason, I think.
Yeah,
Unbelievable, man. Seriously. Can't
It's
thank
been
you
a cool
enough.
ride.
Yeah, I mean, it is a genuine privilege to have gone back and understand the man that sits in front of me today. I mean it. And yeah,
Very funny. It's such a trip because it's like you know how it is. You live your own experience and you don't often look back, or you do, but you don't look back that intently. And then also you don't experience it the same way other people do. And so like even making that piece of content, I'll admit like I cried the first time I made that piece of content because it was just so awesome to see the full spectrum from that 90-second experience as opposed to just living the day in, day out experience of it.
You in that state of mind often these days?
Yeah.
The crying?
No. No. It's funny. Like I've talked a lot about like the struggle and stuff, but it's such an interesting thing because it's not, I've been depressed. I've talked about how I've talked a lot about like 17 to 21 was a really tough period of my life in general, but it's not that now. Now is just hard. It's hard. Life's hard. You go through hard things all the time, and a lot of it is stuff that's outside of your control. And then as a result, life gets stressful. And yeah, you would like to be performing better, and you'd like to not have those things going on. But it's also not. It's a privilege. It's life, right? I would not trade any of what I have with any other human being on the planet. There is not a single other person that I would trade my life with. And I mean that. And like there are people I admire, there are people I look at and I go, what they're doing is really cool. But I know you have to trade all of it. And I know everyone has their own things. And so there is not, I like, this has been an incredibly difficult year, and a lot of the difficulty is still yet to come and still coming. But there's not, like, I wouldn't trade it with anyone. And I don't think I would have said that same thing when I was younger. And so, yeah, it's a funny one. I always like, especially going on podcasts this year, it's like, and making content this year, I've gotten that question a lot because I think people can sense it. They're like, oh, he's fucking struggling a bit. But like, it's normal. It's normal. And I know that I'll look back in a year or 2 or 3 years and be stoked that I went through it.
It's always the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said something like 99% of the time I'm editing behind a computer, and people think my life's so good because I travel all the time.
Yeah.
It's like the case. It's like the case that with anything though, like they see the finished product or they see that brisket being soaked in honey, and they don't see the honey that ended up in the drawers because it was dribbling down the side.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just the case with everything.
Yeah. I would love to think that I do a better job of that now, sharing all of it.
It's important.
But I still don't think I do. I still think people probably look at what I share and probably think there's this infallible character. But it's just, it's not true. There's always a struggle. There's always stuff going on. You know, I had to fire someone yesterday. That was really difficult. And there's always ups and downs. But again, if you zoom out far enough, like, you know, I made a newer version of that video again for this year, and it still looks like a nice linear line upwards. And so I think it's yeah, all the struggles are, again, that thing that I've said a couple times is like, take your today and put it on Alex Hormozi or Chris Williamson or any of the people that you admire.
So true.
And know that they've gone through a normal day too. They probably pissed and missed the toilet this morning. Their wife probably yelled at them because they fucking forgot to put their plate in the dishwasher. They probably missed some event, or they probably forgot something in their calendar. All the things that you've done today, they've also done.
I did a post on LinkedIn a while ago. It was talking about, I was listening to a conversation. I'm like, surely Stephen Bartlett couldn't have been this good forever. So I went back to episode 1. And I wrote the post because it made me realize that there was a time where he wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's got to where he is because
of the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of work. I think if you put, it's why I love fitness as like an analogy for life, is because it's a smaller version. If you go to the gym consistently for a year, you will see the progress on your body. We just can't, for some reason, people cannot do that for skills and things and language. It's like people learn fucking languages. People can start on Duolingo and then 4 years later be fluent speaking that language in another country. That's because of time. And it's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with work. It's the same with content. It's the same with the way that you speak. It's the same with everything. It's just time doing the thing. It's inevitable that you get better. And I think I like to, because I think there are some people that you look at online. There are some, inevitably, there is always outliers. There is always people that have some sort of gift or something that makes them amazing at that thing, or some natural propensity for some particular skill. But most of the time, the people that you admire were just relentless, persistent motherfuckers that refuse to stop. And they've just done it way longer than most people.
So true. Yeah, you said something. Yeah, the quote you've emphasized a few times. Yeah, you've said it in the 17 was doing it. Extraordinary things
extraordinary results don't come from doing ordinary. Extraordinary results don't come from doing extraordinary things. They come from doing ordinary things for an extraordinary amount of time.
And I think that's probably why you emphasize the fact that you aren't like any others out there. You've just got an above average work rate.
Yeah.
And the ability to go
inability
through a bit more
to fuck
pain.
off.
Yeah, you've said that a few times.
Yeah. No, I believe that fully. I truly believe that, because when I make those videos, I look back at the version of me with a mustache at my parents' house with a fucking old door over 2 bedside tables as my desk. I look at that video and I remember what it was like to make it. And I remember being the exact same person I am now. I don't feel any different sitting across the table from you than I did making that video. But the outside is completely different. It's a completely different person. And so I know that happens. And I know, looking at every other person, obviously there's some ingredients that are required. There's definitely a little bit of there's something going on. There's some biology that makes me have some kind of predisposition for this particular thing. But if you find the thing that you have a predisposition for, and then understand that you're going to get exceptional at it if you just stick at it, then you can do unbelievable things. So yeah, you can't do exactly what someone else is doing, but if you find something that touches that part of your brain a little bit more than most things, and then you just stick at it longer than anyone else, you'll win.
Good way to win it, brother.
Cool.
I really do appreciate it, Tom.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Butchered on the last line.
No, sorry,
so
man.
close.
No problem. I'll overlay it. I'm checking.
Leave it in.
That was so good, man.
Thanks for having me, mate.
No, at least I could do.